All right, so the New York leg of the press conference for Gennady Golovkin and Daniel Jacobs is over. They're on a plane headed to LA. I'm going to leave a video copy of the press conference underneath this video. Go to about the 45-second mark, because like the first 40 something seconds is just there's nothing there but an irritating noise and picture. So go to about 45 seconds into the video. Let's talk about some things I noticed at the presser. The first thing I noticed was the ring girls. They were, not because of their physiques or anything, but they were talking. And one of them was complaining about something. This was before the press conference started, as they were setting up right at the 45-second mark, all the way up till a couple minutes in. They were talking, and one of them sounded like she was complaining about something. I had some people around me when I was listening, so I'm not sure. I didn't totally hear it. But what they had is what you call a live mic on them. And hopefully nobody pays attention to every little intricacy as I do, and that they didn't say anything that'll lose them their gig. But then again, maybe they deserve it if they did. Got to be pros, lady, when that camera's on you. So who knows what that live mic caught. Second thing I noticed in the video during the press conference, and you can look at it below, is the hairstyles of the two fighters. Now, the good boy came out with a shorter haircut. It almost looked like a version of those bowl haircuts that the Amish men wear, but not as bad. And it was cut shorter. And he had this part on the left side, a wide part on the left side. Looked like Dawu might have got to him. I don't know. Looked like Dawu got him. That's anybody outside of New Jersey and New York might not understand. They might not understand that one. So anyway, the Miracle Man, his hair was different too. He had his hair higher than usual. He had a style. Think of the leading scorer for the Chicago Bulls, Jimmy Butler. He had that type of hairstyle. Looked good on him. The next notable thing was the height difference when they kind of posed or kind of stood next to each other. Now Golovkin's listed at 5'10", Jacobs at 6 foot tall. Standing next to each other though, Jacobs looked like he had about 4 inches on Golovkin. I don't know. I mean, I know the hair is high, but either this cat had some platform shoes on, or I don't know. But he significantly taller. Let me throw a miscellaneous Mike Tyson fact in here. Neither of these guys will ever have to worry about being accused of having small ears. You know what I mean? No relation to Arsenio Hall here with either one of these guys. Both these guys got big ears. And just when you think I'm putting them down, calm down. I look in the mirror and notice that my ears aren't exactly small too, so I'm a member of that fraternity. Not as big as those guys, but not small either. So sign me up. Now during the press conference, Michael Buffer served as the announcer, bringing the guys in, and I'd like to see him change his intro up on fight night. Now, he hasn't really done Jacobs because Jacobs has been a Showtime fighter. recently, but he's done Golovkin, and especially Golovkin. I like to see him change the intro. Jacobs, it was fine for the most part, except minus the ending. And on fight night, I think if he changes the way he introduces the guys, and it may not be his call, maybe they like it that way, but on fight night, I think it'll send chills through certain fans' spines on fight night. I'll explain what I mean by certain fans. Especially when he introduces Golovkin, it just never flows properly. Now, for Jacobs, it was Daniel Miracle Man Jacobs, which flows better, okay? It flows. And you can listen to the video I included below. Go to the 11-minute, 15-second mark. But when he does Jacobs' last name, he should keep the bass in his voice instead of opting for the soprano or the tenor. So instead of Daniel Miracle Man Jacobs, no, just keep it Daniel Miracle Man Jacobs. I mean, it just sounds a lot more robust, a lot more diesel, and it just gets the crowd more amped. At least most of the crowd. Now, that's Michael Buffer, and I'll explain what I mean by, I guess, certain fans or certain crowd. Now, for Golovkin, he always starts out right because he puts that little fire in his voice, but the little rough edge to it. And you want to hear something strong, yet something that flows at the same time. So what I like to hear is Gennady, Triple G Golovkin. So you kind of want the opposite with Golovkin's last name than you want with Jacobs. You actually want him to raise his vocal range a little bit. But Buffer's version, and you can go to the 12-minute, 54-second mark in the press conference video that I included below. His intro is Gennady, Gennadyevich, Golovkin, aka Triple G. It's just a little over the top, and it just doesn't flow. Now, I know what you're saying right now. Why is this guy overanalyzing this in this video? But when you're at Madison Square Garden in front of a packed house of 30,000 fans, you just want to get those goosebumps. Now, most people won't care because they don't know anything about being in the moment of a big fight. But I've been plenty of times, and trust me, every little idiosyncrasy, every little thing adds power to the show. It just does. I know none of my listeners out there care about what I'm saying, so let's move on. It was announced, thefightjournal.com predicted this weeks ago. It was announced that Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez will be part of the fight card, which is great. That's what you want. Now we got ourselves a fight card. To have a great pay-per-view, I still say if you can get that Joe Smith Jr. versus Shawnee Monahan fight, Irish Shawnee Monahan, St. Patrick's Day, hint. Both from New York, both blue-collar guys with jobs who put the hard hat on. It's just a natural. Alexander Usyk, 11-0, 10 knockouts. He's on the card, cruiserweight. Haven't found an opponent for him. The Roman Gonzalez is fighting the Wasaksil Wangek, and he'll be defending his WBC Super flyweight title. Now, Wangek, 41-4, 38 big wins by knockout, so he's gonna come bring it. And both of those guys are enrolled in the VADA Clean Boxing program. Gennady Golovkin is enrolled in the VADA Clean Boxing program. Daniel Jacobs, to my knowledge, is not. So I'm big on that. We'll see how that plays out. So Tommy Loeffler, I call him Tommy, Tom Loeffler. He served as the MC, and he's runs things at K2 Promotions, which is Golovkin and Klitschko. And while we can do without all the intros and fanfare and the ballyhoo and what have you, we understand that it's part of the promotion, and Tommy was smooth with it. One of the guys he introduced was Peter Nelson, and he's HBO's point man for boxing. And Peter Nelson pointed out, as well as Joel Fisher before him, that Madison Square Garden was actually booked for March 18th by WWE. They had that date booked. However, they realized how big this event was, and they acquiesced. They came up off the date and gave it to Golovkin and Jacobs and to the sport of boxing. So shout out to Vince McMahon for doing that. Had it been, one of those Royal Rumble WrestleMania type things, then I think boxing might have been looking for another date. So shout out nonetheless. Now, a lot of videos, as well as some of the speakers who came up, they keep, for lack of a better term, butt kissing and giving Danny Jacobs credit for taking this fight. Why? That's the question. Why? Danny Jacobs did what he was supposed to do. First of all, he was ordered by the sanctioning body to take this fight. And so was Golovkin, who the problem has never been Golovkin, it's been the opponents. However, even if Jacobs wasn't ordered, this is what you get into boxing for, the best matchups. So I'm not going to give Danny Jacobs credit for doing what he's supposed to do. He's a fighter. What I think boxing scribes and journalists and videographers and so on and so forth need to do is to begin to criticize those who are not doing what they're supposed to do and who historically haven't done what they're supposed to do. You know, if you want to draw for historical purposes, talk about those in the past and talk about those who do it now, but let's not give a guy credit for doing what he's supposed to do. A little further in the press conference, I like the speech by Keith Connolly. He put it down for Team Jacobs. I'm going to give it to him. And whether he was embellishing or not, he seems like the type of guy that you want to have your back. A guy that you want on your side. And what Keith Connolly pretty much talked about was how Jacobs was not only going to win, but he was going to be dominant. And then he said halfway through the second round, okay, not the fifth round, not the sixth round, but he said halfway through the second round, that's round number 2, folks, everybody watching ringside, and even Gennady Golovkin himself, will realize that he's in there with a different kind of animal and that he bit off more than he can chew. And this guy's funny, and I love it because he doesn't come off as a loudmouth. He didn't come off as a loudmouth when he was talking. You can check it out on the video below. He actually looks like a guy who works for IBM or who works on Wall Street. And he said it in that vernacular or that dialect. He just... the funny thing is, as he was saying it, if you look at Loeffler's face, if you look at Golovkin's face, and if you look at Jacobs' face, they all had this blank look on their faces, like they didn't even want to be there in the first place. I mean, there was no smiling or head nodding or any expression, any reaction to what the guy was saying. I mean, as a matter of fact, Connolly himself had a blank look on his face when he was saying it. So you can go to about the 33-minute mark and 33 minutes, 33 seconds of the video below and see what see what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Keith Connolly on that. He had me laughing. Andre Rozier came up and he was loud. I mean, if you were at the press conference dozing off, his voice woke you up, trust me. And he said what trainers are supposed to say. He said what he had to say. And Danny Jacobs got up. Danny Jacobs was respectful, like he usually is. Danny Jacobs is very confident in himself. Don't let anybody fool you. Extremely confident. He's confident in his spirituality. And speaking on his self-confidence, I mean, the guy was laid up with cancer. Okay, and not all that long ago, and the prognosis wasn't good at all. Jacobs, he was told by doctors he would never box again, and here he is in what many call the biggest fight of his life, and technically, it's not. The biggest fight of his life was for his life, outside of the ring, dealing with cancer. So he's not afraid of Golovkin. The negotiations that went on and kept getting extended and extended and extended, it didn't have anything to do with him being afraid. No way. Jacobs also told a good story about his son and how his son was ready to give up on his homework, and he kind of drew an analogy, not just to boxing, not just to cancer, but just in life. So it was a good testimony to his son and to the crowd that was gathered there at the presser. Now Jacobs has brought in Virgil Hunter to help with his game plan, and he's also added Chris Algieri for nutritional purposes. So he's going all out and spending his money in ways that he thinks will work best for him. Golovkin got up, and the first thing I noticed when he stepped to the podium was the part that he had in his hair seemed to disappear. Like his hair kind of overlapped the part. And he gave out his thank yous, and we already know the story with Golovkin. Don't let the baby face fool you. Golovkin spoke of having 4 belts and how this fight is a dream for everyone. How we get to see who the best is in the middleweight division. And a few more thank yous, and Gennady was done. After the press conference, there was a Q&A session, and someone asked Gennady who was the biggest puncher he ever faced, and Golovkin's response was, "Well, I've never been down." He's never been down, and they all hit hard, and he said maybe it'll be Jacobs. He's like, he didn't know. And when asked why he's ready for the fight now, when previously said he wasn't, Jacobs said he's been more active as of late. And coming back from what he came back, he needed to get active, to test himself and what have you, and so now he's ready. And he looked ready. I mean, he's down. He's ready to get down for the crown. Absolutely. And there was another question: what did Jacobs learn from his loss? And he talked about preparing better, and preparation was key, and learning from what mistakes he made inside of the ring, and then what can he do outside of the ring to fix them. And most of all, he talked about making sure that his mental was intact. During his losses, his grandmother died, and it kind of took him out of his game mentally. But he added that he's been victorious ever since, which is true. So the fighters gathered, did another face-off, and okay, Jacobs maybe had him by 2 inches, maybe not 4 inches, I think. So they'll be flying out. Well, they flew out. Is it tomorrow? Or not sure if it's tomorrow or the day after, for the Los Angeles leg of the tour. And then both guys, from what I recall, pretty much are going to jump right into camp and get ready for March 18th. So the Fight Journal will be in the house, and going to see if I'm supposed to be getting a camera. I don't think I'm going to have it by then, but hey, we'll see what we can get done, and we'll do a prediction for the fight. Maybe have a little interactive blog talk show. Not one of these 2-3 hour type of deals, but maybe for a half hour or so. See if we can get some fans to call in just to get their take, get their prediction, and then the why, of course, like, or the how. Don't just say, oh, this guy's going to win. Okay, how's he going to do it? How's it going to play out? Just don't say knockout. I mean, you got two guys who there only have been 3 men each who went the distance with them. So obviously the betting line for a knockout is not going to have a big payoff. So we'll see. Make sure you follow us at The Fight Journal on Twitter. We got 11,000 followers. But what we really want, we want some of those followers to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to be giving away some money. Not a whole lot of money. We're going to be giving away some money in a few months. And probably in some prizes throughout the course of the year. And you have to be subscribed to our YouTube channel to qualify. Do it now. It's free. It's absolutely free. Also go to thefightjournal.com. Make sure you're viewing it in the full site mode and type your email address in. And all of our videos, interviews, audio, all the articles, stories, whatever we do will come directly to your email. Free of charge. We'll catch you on the next one.